Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos, and I'm a life coach, relationship coach, and breakup coach. You can change the language of this podcast in the YouTube video settings. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing how to attract your ex after acting needy and impatient. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing how to attract your ex after acting needy and impatient. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you have likely made mistakes. We all do. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 steps to attract your ex after acting needy and impatient. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is turn the tap off. Now, if your bath was overflowing with water, the first thing that you would do is not to remove the water. The actual first thing you would do is to turn the tap off, turn the faucet off. And the reason for this is you need to stop the problem before you can try and improve the situation in your favor. So we need to take action to stop the rot. We need to stop things getting worse. What this means in this instance is you need to stop chasing your ex. So you almost need to forgive yourself for anything that you now look back on and think, actually, I shouldn't have texted my ex. Actually, I should never have called them. I should never have done this, that, or the other. Look, the past is the past. What is done is done. We can't go back. We can only look forward. So forgive yourself, but you must stop doing it. Now, I know it's much easier than for me to just say this when you actually taking that step of not contacting your ex. If it was that easy, you wouldn't have done it initially. But the acknowledgement, the accountability for what you've previously done was not the right move is very important, because once you understand that, it is going to become somewhat easier, I'm not saying easy, but somewhat easier to try and prevent yourself from falling into those traps. Now, the overriding arc at this point is to implement my version of the no contact rule. Now, for those of you who are not aware of no contact, this is something that lots of people suggest you implement if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back. However, there are many different versions of the no contact rule that you can find online, and I believe that my version of a rule will give you that best possible chance of success. So I suggest that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, ring the bell for notifications, and check out the playlist entitled The No Contact Rule. This will help you fully immerse yourself in my version of a rule and understand why I believe it will give you that best possible chance of success. But if and when you start implementing my version of no contact, you still need to try and stay on track. And it is very important to not trip up where you might want to reach out to your ex due to triggers. So triggers are things which are going to trigger your mindset into thinking, I need to reach out. Now, some of those things you are going to find very difficult to actively avoid. What I mean by that, for instance, is a date on the calendar. You are going to have to go through the experiences of dates on the calendar, which could be really challenging. But if you are, for instance, approaching a day which could be very difficult and triggering for you, you can try and almost sidestep that challenge, sidestep that problem by keeping yourself very busy on the day. Make sure that you make plans with your friends or family. I know that the natural thought is that you just want to sit at home alone, okay? You don't want to go out, you don't want to see people, you want to be alone. But that is not going to help you, especially if you're trying to prevent yourself from reaching out to your ex. You're trying to stop the rot. You're trying to stop things getting worse. You now acknowledge that chasing your ex isn't working. If it was working, well, you wouldn't be listening to this right now. You would be with your ex and they wouldn't be your ex any longer. You would be back together. So you know it's the wrong move. So you must stop yourself from making that mistake again. And if an important day on the calendar is coming up, a birthday, an anniversary, whatever it may be, keep yourself busy. Don't be alone. Surround yourself with positive people. That is going to help you sidestep a trigger, which in essence you can't do anything about. You can't prevent a date on the calendar from coming, but luckily it will go as soon as it arrived. 24 hours is 24 hours. It doesn't matter if it's an important day or not. But what about all of the other triggers? Well, we're not going to be able to go through the infinite amount of triggers, of course, today, but we can mention another one or two where you do have more active control in avoiding these types of problems. One of those things would be if you have possessions of your ex lying around your house. Every time you see them, you are going to be thinking of your ex, thinking about reaching out, thinking that they are not with you right now and how sad you feel. My suggestion is not to throw them away, but instead to put them in a box, put that box somewhere safe, maybe at the bottom of your wardrobe, bottom of your closet, keeping it somewhere where if you need to access them, for instance, if your ex did come back, okay, you need to know where they are. However, you're not going to keep seeing them day in, day out, hour in, hour out. You don't want to be bumping into these triggers because that is going to make it much harder to maintain my version of a no contact rule. So whereas the date on the calendar you can't actually affect, but you can instead try and sidestep, things such as visual triggers you can absolutely try and avoid by putting them safely in a box and keeping that box out of the way. Now this leads to another problem. Let's say, for instance, that one of these things that you need to move is a photo of your ex. A photo of your ex in a frame which is on a table. For instance, you take it off the table, you put it in a box, you put the box away, but what now? Now there is a big gap where that photo used to stand. And there lies the next challenge, because even though you have moved the actual trigger, you now have a gap, and the gap can be almost as triggering as the thing that you have moved. So you need to replace the items that you move. Don't just put them away in a box, keep them out of sight. You now need to make sure that you don't have huge gaps where those things were, because otherwise you will automatically think of what was there and it will trigger you anyway. So you need to replace whatever you move with items which have nothing to do with your ex, nothing at all which could be linked to them. If you replace those gaps, then you should hopefully be less triggered and enable you to maintain my version of the no contact rule. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please give this video a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments. For instance, let me know whether you have been acting needy and desperate post-breakup. Be honest about it. There is no judgment here. Let me know in the comments and let's see what the community thinks. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is fill the calendar. Now, the second step of today's podcast is really, really important. And today we are speaking about how to attract your ex after acting needy and impatient. So you have implemented my version of a no contact rule. You have acknowledged that what you have done previously was not helping. But now we need to take that next step and we need to make sure that you fill your calendar. Short, medium, and long-term goals are vital, but also plans. This is a hugely important step and is necessary for what we are going to be getting into point number 3 as well. So please keep listening as these all connect. You need to be making sure that you fill your calendar with short, medium, and long-term plans. Goals, as I've said, are really, really important as well. Learn how to drive, learn how to cook, improve your health and fitness. All wonderful, all vital, but also filling in the calendar with plans which might serve no real reason other than improving your lifestyle, improving your mindset, improving your happiness, just by experiencing and exploring new things. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to travel the world, although you could do if you wanted. It doesn't have to be as grand as that, but it could be if you like. Now, as I said, we need short, medium, and long term. We need to make sure that you have plans for this coming weekend, but also something to look forward to in a month's time. This is why we need to be filling that calendar. There needs to be things that you are constantly able to focus on. If you're focusing on other things, you are not likely to be focusing on your ex as much. And again, this is all going to link with point number 3. So I would like you to, if you haven't already, start looking at what you can put on that calendar. You need some long-term plans, things to really look forward to. Maybe that is a trip, a holiday, a vacation. That could be something months and months into the future. But we also need to bring it all the way back down to what you are doing in the coming days. Something which doesn't necessarily have to be as elaborate, but just as good. It could be you visiting a fair. It could be you going to a sporting event. It could be you catching up with a friend that you haven't spoke with in a long time. It's astonishing to some how many people they lose touch with during a relationship, and they only really acknowledge it once that relationship ends. It's not because they fell out necessarily. It's not because their ex didn't like that person necessarily. It's often due to a lack of time. But now, unfortunately, due to your breakup, you have that time. So you can reconnect with former friends who maybe you still class as good friends, but you think, well, I haven't actually seen them in 2 years. Now is the time. Get it on the calendar. Let's fill it all out. Let me know in the comments some of your ideas about what you could do to make the days, weeks, and months ahead look great. Now, how far ahead should you be going? Well, the sky is the limit. If you can fill out the next 12 months, that would be wonderful. Having something every single weekend or whenever it is that you have a gap from your work or your education schedule, whatever you are doing, whenever you have that free time, that needs to have plans. Again, it doesn't always have to be incredibly crazy, outrageous plans, but there can be bigger ones, particularly in the future, to really focus your mind and take your thoughts away from your ex. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. This is the best and diamond level of support that I can provide. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is the magic trick. Now, you might not have realized that you have the skills of a magician, but you absolutely do, and you're going to be activating those skills right now. So you are the magician because you are going to disappear and then reappear. And this is predominantly going to be showcased on social media, although you could actually do it in other ways as well, including online dating platforms, for instance. What I mean by this is I'm suggesting is that you have a digital detox regarding what people see of you. Obviously, if you need to go online for work or whatever it may be, you've of course got to still do those things. But regarding social media in particular, maybe online dating could be put in there as well. And anything else that connects here, you need to be making sure that you are not posting anything new for a while. Now, however long that while is will be determined by you. If we are speaking via my audio coaching and we decide that this is a plan of action, we could work out a very specific scheduling. Of course, this is a generalized podcast, So all I can say is that you need to do what you feel is right. We are talking about you disappearing, but then reappearing in the future. Now, if you don't use social media, this would actually mean you open social media accounts for the first time. So it doesn't matter if you use this already or not. If you do, you're going to stop using it and then come back, maybe a few months down the line. Might not be quite as long as that, but whatever seems the best fit. And if you have never used social media, or you haven't in a long time, you're going to be starting this for the very first time. You're going to be reappearing with new accounts. And by the way, no, you don't add your ex. The likelihood is they will hear about what you are posting, whether it is mutual friends, whether they have been notified because they have some type of contact detail of you still, and social media will suggest you to them. Those are the things which can work in your favor, because when you disappear and then come back, whether it is weeks or months later, what you will then be able to speak about online are the things that you were doing in point number 2. Remember, those short, medium and long-term plans, those things that you have been actively doing in the weeks and months prior, you are going to be speaking about, showcasing in photos and videos. These are the things which will show you are growing as a person and focusing on you, not your ex. We need to remember that if you've been acting needy and impatient with your ex-dumper, if you have been behaving in a way where they believe that you're desperate for them, we need to show that you aren't. We need to show that you are focusing on you and not them. And there is no better way to do that than living your life to the full and presenting it via social media. As I said, it could even be by opening an online dating platform account, and maybe you've got some photos from when you were doing these activities, but the fact that you're joining online dating in essence is showing that you are ready to walk away. And if you are scared of your ex-dumper believing you would walk away, well, as I said at the beginning, if what you were doing previously was working, you wouldn't be listening to this. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Instead, you need to try something new. And this is going to be you living your life where you are showing yourself as able to walking in a fresh direction. If you don't walk away, your ex-dumper can never miss you. They can never believe that you don't desire them. They can never believe that you're not putting them on a pedestal. And remember, we need to be removing and wiping that slate clean of them believing that you were over pursuing. So live your life for you, not for your ex. And this is how you can get your ex back, by reattracting them due to the intrigue, the wonder, and ultimately missing you as a brand new version 2.0 of yourself, who is living their life in a way that your ex-dumper could never have predicted.